You were asking about wanting to know how to harvest it. So with a lot of online sources, you will, if you watch video, they'll tell you that, oh, you don't need gloves, but I would say always wear gloves. I have very sensitive fingers, so it does sting. There's always a saying that if you have been stung by a sting nettle, you've been kind of indoctrinated into it. The sting is quite unique. There is basically, here I'll show you. So this is a sting nettle plant. The whole plant is actually covered with stings. So if I turn it upside down, can you see it, like these areas?
Oh, right, all those little barbs.
Yeah, so you'll see that when I wear gloves, I found one is actually not enough, so I actually have two.
Oh, okay.
And one way to know, to properly identify sting nettle is, you can see that they're actually, the leaves are opposite each other.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a cross.
Right.
Yep. And the edges are serrated.
Okay, yeah.
And you'll see all these, the stings are actually everywhere. Underneath, on top of it. Now, there are sources that say when they're young, you can pick it without gloves. I found that to be not true, because it still does sting, and it hurts. When you do have, those who have been stung by sting nettle will know that it's sort of like a pins and needles for about anywhere between a day to 72 hours. And every time you touch water, it intensifies the sting. So at this point, we're at mid-April.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much end of mid-March. Now is a prime time. You'll see, like, at this size, it's actually a very good time to harvest them.
Oh, that size, okay.
They do grow up to 2 feet tall, which is incredible. So what I usually do is I'll just grab scissors or X-Acto knife. Now, when I personally like to use X-Acto knife because it's fast. But what I do is usually harvest about 4 to 6 inches of it, and I want to make sure that there's some of these below. So I would kind of harvest it here.
Okay.
And that's how I would do it. So you want to leave some behind so that they could actually they could continue growing and branch out.
Right.
And if there's not enough, then they grow by root system. So that's how, if you pull it, you'll follow a whole rhizome root system.
Oh, right.
And
yeah, they're all in kind of a bunch.
so
here.
I was here last week harvesting, and if you look around now, it looks like I didn't do anything because they actually grow that fast. It's just incredible that if you harvest sustainably and harvest responsibly, they will keep growing.
Wow.
So when they're young like this at this time, you'll see more of that purple color.
Oh, okay.
So with the young ones, and the older they get, they lose the purple. But it's quite beautiful, I found.
They were pretty.
Mm-hmm. So just be careful of these things that you see around there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did have an experience with them when I first came to the island.
However, having said that, when you do get stung by it, it does release acetylcholine and a whole bunch of nerve benefiting chemical.
Oh, okay.
That, people do believe if you smack it and like inflame joints and this and that, that's supposed to be helpful for you. I'm just, I guess, a wimp when it comes to pain, so I tend not to do that. But so in some ways, like, don't be afraid of a sting. It's actually good for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like the people that would go to those places and have bees sting them where their arthritis is.
Yeah, bee acupuncture. Yeah, they use a bee venom on acupuncture point. That's right.
More kind if you use a plant.
Great thing with sting nettle, because it's so wild and it grows so abundantly. This actually, if you look at gram per gram, so if an orange, if you look at a medium-sized orange, let's say it has 100 milligram, this has about 4 times of vitamin C. It also has vitamin A, K, vitamin B complex. It's just that this is so packed in nutrients. Iron as well, calcium and iron. So it's just one of those, probably one of the most nutritious plants that we have freely available. That, when you think of vitamin C, you should look at that as well. Like rosehip is another one that's a great source of vitamin C. But sting nettle, the reason why it's so great is because we can eat it in all sorts of ways. Like pretty much every recipe that uses spinach, you can use sting nettle. I've made, like, I think I mentioned to you, I make a lot of pesto with this. So basically you substitute basil with sting nettle, or you could actually mix a whole bunch, like all the plants that we saw earlier, the cleavers, you can mix it into making a wild plant pesto.
Nice.
I made kimchi out of it. I used the leaf part.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And again, when you're making kimchi, you actually also using, the nature's probiotics and things like that. So it's just There's a Japanese pancake recipe called konomiyaki. The original recipe uses cabbage, but I've actually substituted with sting nettle, and it's actually wonderful. Now, one of the greatest, most people fear the sting, but I found when you mentioned about Pam steaming it, that's one way to get rid of it. You could also boil it in water, blanch it,
Right.
stir frying it. Basically, the cooking process will get rid of the sting, most of it.
Right.
And dehydrating it will also get rid of it for the most part, but just it's not going to harm you, the sting. There is a story that pretty much every time you see something in nature that has a lot of these stings or thorns or stuff, it's just nature's way, it's plant's natural way to protect itself, because without sting it will be obliterated. All the herbivore will finish eating it. So when you look at devil's club, blackberry, anything that's a lot of thorn, even rose, it's just the plant's way of protecting itself because it's so medicinal and good for you. So don't be afraid of sting. It's just one of those things. It's this is the plant's natural defense mechanism.
Right.
But like I said, the stings do denature when it comes to heat.
Right.
So I have seen people blend this and drink it raw, and like recipes online. I don't recommend it because it might irritate your mouth when you're eating it because you're dealing with raw, unless you blend it very fine. But I would say just cook it briefly, a minute or two. The sting will denature and it'll be safe to eat. But definitely highly recommend this plant to just have in your diet because it's just that great. Medicinal property. This plant itself, the root part is good for BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia.
Right.
So pretty much, like, as you know, with BPH, like men, 50% of men over 60 would have it.
Right.
I think by the time you get to 80, it's like 80 or 90%.
Right.
There's a lot of RCT, random control trial, double blind on this plant, the root part, for prostate care. This plant itself is great for gout. So people with gout issues.
Oh, right.
Also great for diabetes. It has it decreased the bad cholesterol, and it's just basically amazing when it comes to protecting your overall health. So in terms of men's, you talk about the prostate, you talk about gout. Well, I know gout can happen in women too, but for women, what is amazing is it actually is a hormonal balance. So your estrogen level, it regulates it, and it's also amazing for breast cancer. A lot of recent research do talk about the pre and post breast cancer. This plant is amazing for it.
Wow.
So it's just, again, it tastes good. It's widely available in nature. So when you're eating it, it's sort of like, in Chinese medicine, we talk about eating, the food is your source of medicine. So this is definitely one of them. Like in terms of minerals, there's high in calcium, a lot of vitamins. Pretty much just taking that as your multivitamin pill. That's how I like to see it. And there are a ton of recipes online that pretty much people have made quiche with it, pie with it. It's just endless what you can do. But just the thing is, just make sure you cook it somehow. Blanch it, cook it, steam it, like you said, stir fry it. We actually often make it when it's tender like this. Yeah, make it into stir fry.
Wow.
Throw some garlic in, stir fry it. It's quite tasty. Yeah, and soup as well.
Oh.
It has you can make it into a very strong broth. And and one thing about this herb is it has antihistamine, so seasonal allergies, amazing for it.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think what else. I have a whole book just on all the just purely medicinal property of this herb. So I'm just really skimming the highlights of it. And there's an RCT. It's definitely prostate care. We have breast cancer care, and these RCT are done on human. We're not talking about animal. So this is a gold standard for BPH.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah, right now, because it's so young, this is more you can eat it like a food. Later on, like I said, it can grow up to 2 meters. Later on, you want to stop harvesting of it when it starts to flower, because at that point we're talking about early summer. The energy of the plant goes to the flower.
Right.
So you want it to you don't want to harvest it. You want to allow it to go to flower so that it will go to the seed. The seed is also medicinal. The seed, you can harvest it about mid to late summer, and it gives you really nutty flavor. So you can see it's more like anytime you add nuts to your cooking, you can throw a little bit of sting nettle seed in there.
Wow. And
then fall time, that's when the energy goes down to the root. That's when you want to harvest it for purpose of gout or even prostate as well. So that's sort of, this whole plant, every part of it is just good for you.
Wow.
And as it gets bigger, you can still keep harvesting. Like the leaves can be used for tea. Like you'll see the one down there, it seems to be a little bigger. Then I would, the ones down there, or any of the leaves of the bigger ones, like the one, I would at that point harvest it for tea. You could dehydrate it and have it throughout the year. So what I tend to do around this time, I would make a lot of pesto and just freeze it, and I could have it throughout the year. Like this tea again, it's something that I pretty much recommend all patients to take. It's just that good for you.
Wow. Just
Men, women, children. It's great.
Overall powerful tonic that
Yeah, absolutely.
really
yeah.
builds your
And when you do
energy.
make a whole bunch of it into soup, like when you drink that soup, it's actually it has a sort of like earthy, very, very thick and nutritious soup. So when it comes to like you want to drink like healthy soup, this is one that you want to put in as well. Or sometimes when you make a vegetable soup, you just throw it in as well. I do that.
Would it also have a good cleansing effect in the body and a detoxifying effect? Because we're
I'm sure.
running into so many chemicals in our society these days.
You can look at a detox, or you can see it as more like a hormonal cleanse.
Hormonal
Because it actually
cleanse.
balances your body
Oh,
out.
wow.
So, nowadays there's just too much estrogen, like with all the plastic use
Right,
everywhere.
yes,
This is
yes.
one plant that's great for it,
Oh, that helps to balance things. Oh, wow.
for sure.
Really, really important. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, where to find it? They like sun, so you'll see it like in the forest. They do grow pretty much everywhere, but usually in places like you have little. They like to be near water, like creek area. You'll find lots of it, like river, near little ditch and stuff like that.
Mm.
They do like the sun a lot, so usually in sunny spots. And but in terms of identifying it, like these are the key features: serration, kind of like a cross, like they grow opposite each other. The leaves are opposite each other,
Right.
and you just can't mistake the sting. And when they're young, they do have a purple tinge. Like down here, you can see a bit of it. I think the ones I got for you last week had more of that purple tinge. They're a little more mature
Right.
now.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right here, you can see. It's quite pretty. But they lose the purple as they grow older.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically how you want it, about 4 to 6 inches from the top. And they keep growing. That's the thing. You'll find it even in the fall time that you'll find new roots new shoots are coming. So you could harvest it then as well. But this is the prime time. Like if you look at where they are right now, this is
Right.
what kind of when you want to harvest. And you can keep harvesting throughout, like I said, before they flower, and even after they flower, you just grab a few leaves to make tea with it, dehydrate it in tea, and yeah.
Wow.
This is one that I think last year I did not harvest enough because I do share a lot of this with my patient, and so this year I'll have to harvest a lot more.
Make
Yeah.
it grow more.
Yeah. And it is easy to propagate. You could dig out the root part, the rhizome, and transplant it.
All right.
But once you do transplant, be aware that it will take over your garden. And
Oh.
it depends on, if you can control it and harvest it enough, it won't take over, but it's that strong. Like this plant has an incredible life force. Then no matter how much you harvest, it will keep growing because it has a good rhizome system.
Wow.
But the whole plant itself is medicinal, so it's great.
Yes.